Good evening, ladies and gents. This is Craig Scott, fighttalk.net, always. If you hear a bee buzzing around my room right now, I literally cannot get it out the room, man. It's pissing me off a bit, but it's flying about. I'm ginger, so all the curtains are drawn. There's not really much I can do in the sunlight. Anyway, we are joined today by boxing news and KO London writer, boxing journalist, Brooke Streatfield. Brooke, how you doing?
Hello, lovely. How are you? Pleasure to be on, by the way.
Huh?
Pleasure to be on with you, by the way.
Well,
Thanks
listen,
for inviting me on.
it's good to have you on eventually. It's good to get you on.
Finally.
I know. Listen, for anybody who's listening, Brooke's a fantastic writer, well-respected boxing journalist in the UK, covering all sorts of fight reports, articles, interviews. Also, you do everything, right?
Yeah, I can kind of do everything.
Kind of do everything.
I've started from the small halls, so that's where I'll stay.
Small halls, yeah, we love that. Brooke does a couple of bits and pieces for us as well, so you can check that out. And we are joined today, we're going to have a chat about female professionals. Professional boxing for the females. It's kind of taken off a little bit in the UK recently, but what we wanted to look at was basically, is it working? Are they doing it the right way? How can they make changes? And what do they need to do to kind of win over the general boxing public? But let me just kick off. Professionals in the UK, female professionals, what's your view on the scene at the moment?
It's a bit of a touchy one, because obviously as a female myself, I should be like representing for the females, which deep down I am. I mean, I wish that women's boxing could be a lot bigger and a lot more seriously taken than it is at the moment. But at the moment, I think it's still kind of, it looks like it's like a bit of a phase. It's a bit of a current trend that most boxing fans that I've actually spoken to see it as a bit of a wave that boxing's riding that's going to eventually just crash and burn.
Yeah.
Like, women are being added to big bills, don't get me wrong, like the likes of Katy Taylor on the Joshua bill and stuff like that. But I just feel like it's a bit of a novelty act at the moment, which is sad, because obviously a lot of these ladies have just as much talent as the guys that they're on the bills with. But I think that at the moment, with old, boxing's a kind of old guys' sport anyway, which is why I've received a lot of stereotype going into the sport at ringside. But I just think that it's got a lot of old-fashioned values that comes with boxing. So at the moment, I feel like it's just valued as a novelty act at the moment until, I mean, Eddie Hearn's putting a lot of money into female boxing, and as you've seen, a lot of the other promoters such as Frank Warren and even the McGuigan Cyclone Promotions have put money into female boxing at the moment. But is it ever going to hit the heights of male boxing? Personally, I don't think so. That's taken years and years to come to the head that it's come to. I hope one day that we can say that Katy Taylor against Natasha Jonas is going to headline a bill somewhere. I really do hope that, but at the moment I don't feel like it's set in stone.
Yeah, I think you touched on a couple of good points there. I think one of the main things is women's professional boxing at the moment, it's kind of taken off, and it's always going to be slow. I think we're expecting immediate results. I was there Katy Taylor's debut November 26th, I believe, in the Wembley SSE Arena. And there was a good turnout. There was a good group of Irish fans there cheering her on, and she looked tremendous. You know, there's no doubt. And this is the one thing that we need to make sure is not being misrepresented. There's no doubt that the women are extremely talented. No one is doubting that. You know, if anybody looks at a Katy Taylor fight and says that she's rubbish or she's no good, then they're being ridiculous. But the point is, how do we transition from them featuring on the early stages of a bill with 100 people sitting around to actually being, like you said, a co-main event or a main event? You know, it's tricky to figure out how we get there. Now,
it's tricky because they're under the radar, which is what it is. It's kind of like, right, here we have a Wembley show, we've got this person, we've got Joshua in front of 90,000 people. Oh, and by the way, Katy Taylor's on the bill.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like female boxing comes as an after effect of, we've got these guys that are headlining. However, if you come, we also cover female boxing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it feels like at the moment. And despite Eddie's whole press conference with Katy, and most recently the most shocking one that I think, it was Savannah Marshall signing with the money team.
Yeah.
That was really quite out of the blue for me. But it is very under the radar at the moment. And obviously for promoters, I understand it being under the radar, because without female cards selling on televised events, it's not making them money. So I hate this word, but it's not sexy to promoters. It's not, oh my God, like Joshua pay-per-view, it's not going to sell 2 million pay-per-views at the moment. However, riding Joshua, the Klitschko rematch might sell double that because it's got the momentum behind it. But at the moment, I feel like if you'd done it coming out of London 2012, when you had Natasha Jonas, you had Nicola Adams, who everyone in this country knew their name, I feel like it would have picked up a little bit more of momentum. But I feel like it kind of died a little bit on the professional scene, clearly, after the Olympics. And now they've tried to, like, recuperate it all, and people are a bit like, did we really sell that wave in 2012?
Yeah.
Rather than looking at it as, oh, Katy Taylor's really, really famous and popular and great at what she does, they're seeing it as, oh yeah, she was the one in the Olympics, next, I'll go get a beer.
Yeah.
And that kind of the mentality that, unfortunately, that I'm around men most of my life, and a lot of them guys, they say that to me. They're like, oh, Katy Taylor's only on at 7 o'clock, we'll put it on at 8. And I'm like, hold on a minute. She's just as talented, if not sometimes more talented, than the guys that get on the bill at 7 o'clock. But people automatically see them as females, and in a sport that is decades behind in stereotypes and sexism, unfortunately, I feel that it's tradition that women are not seen as genuine contenders compared to the guys in there.
But let me ask you that. Obviously, I agree with you on some respect there, that there is still elements of sexism, and women are being kind of undersold in terms of their technical ability. But my question to you would be, the same as mainstream media, you work for media. Mainstream media feed you an image of things, right? Forget sport. Even if we're talking about politics and we're talking about all this sort of stuff, people will sell you an idea of something, or they will sell you an image of a product, whether it's politics, whether it's holidays, whether it's sport, whatever it is. Now, if Eddie Hearn is promoting Katy Taylor, surely a large portion of how we feel about female boxing is down to how it's portrayed by the promoter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to claim and sit here that everyone in boxing is horrible to me because I'm a woman. Let me just get that straight. But I do. It is down to the promoter, but it's also down to the person and the way they see female boxing. Like, if you are somebody like back in the day, Henry Cooper, or somebody of one of the greats, should females be boxing? They'd be like, no, for sure, definitely not. Please don't put them in a ring, because unfortunately, women's places were in the kitchen, and I hate to say things like that, but they were. But it's 2017 now, and I feel like a lot of the younger generation, like when Eddie Hearn puts her on a press conference, are like, yeah, Katy Taylor, she won 5 world titles in the amateur, she's amazing. Like someone like me who was brought up on the amateur scene knows everything about her. Yeah. But I feel like it's not the younger ones you need to be focusing on, because the younger ones will go with anything. We're a social media, multimedia age that if Eddie Hearn tells you Katy Taylor's going to be on and she's going to be great, everyone up to the age of maybe 30, 35 are going to be like, yeah, cool, let's see what this is about. I feel like the problem comes when it gets to the over 40s, like maybe my dad's age, 50 years old, where they're not used to women boxing, they've never seen it on television before. The first time they would have ever seen it would have been at the Olympics when Natasha Jonas was the first one to qualify. So I feel like no matter how Eddie Hearn could speak till he's blue in the face about female boxing, but I feel like it's down to the people they're trying to target at the moment. That's the problem.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Now, do you think if we put a focus on women's boxing directly after 2012, it would have taken off better? Because now, after 2016 Olympics, it wasn't really a breakthrough act anymore, was it? It was just another sport. Whereas in 2012, we could have ridden the coattails of the fact that it was the first time it was involved in the Olympics. Do you think it would have made more sense to have a push on it then?
Yeah, that is what I touched on previously. I worked at the 2012 Olympics quite closely with the whole of the GB team, and that's obviously where I met Joshua years ago. But everyone kind of took females in the same regards to men. Even like my dad would be like, oh, you took a picture of Natasha Jonas today, or Nicola Adams, or they knew their names. And I feel like if my dad was presented with a Natasha Jonas fight 6-7 months after the Olympics, I'm not saying it's as easy to turn over as that it can all just happen in 7 months, but I feel like someone like my dad, I'm using as an example, would be like, that was the Olympian who had that great fight with Katy Taylor in the quarterfinal. Yeah. You could kind of ride off the wave of that whole popularity of it. I mean, everyone in London knew their names. And I think London, ultimately, the UK is where boxing is at the moment. I mean, even Floyd Mayweather said it. But I just think after London 2012, there was a whole hype around female boxing because it was the first time it was featured in an Olympic game.
Yeah.
So I feel like if off the back of that, Eddie Hearn was going to say, right, we're going to co-produce a show with somebody else and we're going to put two females as a headline act alongside an English title fight with Frank Buglioni, for example.
Yeah.
If they was on that, I think it'd be taken way more seriously than it is now, because some people see it as, it's just after the Rio, they're just trying to jump on that, and it's not taken as seriously as it was in 2012. And I feel like they've missed a trick there for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And you're right, the whole sort of advertising promotional push for 2012 meant that that everybody knew who they were. You're spot on with that. And now, I don't think it's the same, especially for someone like Natasha Jonas, who obviously kind of took a bit of time away from the sport. You know, she had a child, and now she's came back. It's probably harder for her to try and, because she had some massive momentum in London 2012, and then she took a bit of time away from the sport recently, and she's decided to come back and turn professional. Must be hard for her to sort of generate the same sort of momentum, although she obviously comes from a very passionate city. Liverpool will always get behind their own fighters.
She actually, in a recent interview I've done with her actually for the magazine, she actually said like Liverpool have always been behind her because obviously she's grown up there and stuff like that. So anything that she ever does, whether it be amateur, professional, she used to do kickboxing and stuff like that, like different mixed martial arts, but there was always behind her. But it's so hard getting your last boxers in this country to get out of a small hall in this country is so difficult. So for a female to get support from like locally is quite easy because they see the effort you put in. Usually the coaches spread the word, but it's very difficult when you want to try and spread it worldwide. You know what I mean? When you want to start telling a Floyd Mayweather fan who Savannah Marshall and Katy Taylor and Nicola Adams are, it's a little bit more difficult than trying to sell a male heavyweight like Joshua.
Yeah, but
I just think. Go on.
I was just going to say, let me ask you. You obviously interviewed Natasha recently. I don't want you to sell me any secrets of the interview, but what? Now, I mean, obviously, we're talking about the lack of commercial appeal. We're talking about how the promotional. I guess it's a difficulty in terms of how you promote it at the moment, and the public are not really catching on as quickly as maybe some people would have thought. Why? What was the kind of vibe you got from Natasha as to why she turned over then? Because obviously the large purses aren't there. Obviously the crazy furor that surrounded her at the London 2012 Olympics isn't there anymore. What was her? What kind of vibe did you get?
She actually, I asked exactly that question, funnily enough, and I said to her, why? Like, why now? I think she's 32. Don't quote me on that one. You've just had a baby. The simple thing to do would be to sit down and eat ice cream all day and look after the baby. And she said to me, she was just like, actually, Tom Stalker phoned her, who was obviously part of the GB team in London 2012.
Captain, right?
Now pro.
Captain, wasn't he?
Yeah. And he rang her after she commentated, I believe, on Katy Taylor's debut.
Yeah.
Because obviously she had an absolute... For anyone that didn't see that fight, by the way, her against Katy Taylor in the quarterfinals of London 2012, needs to rewatch it because that's an example of what potential female boxing holds. And she said to me, she was commentating on the fight against Katy Taylor, knowing obviously what she was like inside the ring. And then Tom Stalker texted her after and was like, have you heard about Nicola Adams going pro? And she was obviously seeing these two people that she'd had multiple sparring sessions and multiple fights in the ring with or against, and was like, actually, do you know what? I can do this. And she said she felt that fire once she saw other women competing that she knew she could do. She thought, actually, I can do this. And then she wanted to turn over again. So I think for Natasha, it comes from a point of passion and love for a sport. Again, like, the reason I got into it was because of the pure love for the sport. But I feel like now she's going to... In recent interviews, she's actually said, like, why is a mum stepping into the ring any different from a father stepping into the ring? Because most people that we watch on a daily basis are fathers and dads and husbands. And so why should a mum be getting in the ring any different? And she kept reiterating that to me. She was like, all of the dads around here, she said, I dropped my baby off and I've basically got a 9 to 5, but my 9 to 5 is hitting people in the face. And it sounds cheesy, but it is. She's very good at what she does. And she just sounded like she had a love back for it. That passion come back for her when she saw Katy Taylor in the ring again. So hers is coming from an idea of passion, but I think quite quickly you find out that it's not as simple as just loving the sport and getting back in the ring again. because you can't fight in front of everybody and you can't fight for free in the professional ranks. So I think that she might come up against a little bit of hardship because she won't be sold as much as the Katy Taylors or the Nicola Adams. I mean, she won a European, and she was one of the first women to ever qualify for an Olympic Games.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you see Katy Taylor's got 5 world titles and Nicola Adams, she's got a world title and a double Olympic gold, it's kind of much easier to market that in terms of the casual fans than it is to market someone like Natasha Jonas, who is 32, which is quite is getting on in the boxing world. And you're like, how do I promote that now?
But you know what? Do you know? I think she's actually. I hate to disagree with you, but I was going to say I think it.
You are though.
Yeah, but I will do it. Now they've got all the medals and stuff. They've got the medals and the criteria and the history of the Olympic gold medals and World Championships and stuff. I actually think Natasha Jonas has got a more infectious personality than those two.
Oh, what I was going to say, I'm going to agree with you now. I'm not going to go around in circles. From a marketing point of view, Katy Taylor and Nicola Adams, they're the ones that are going to be, okay, we've got this many medals. However, I know Natasha, and after speaking to her in the interview, she's way more talkative, she's way more lovable, and you can relate. As a woman that has boxed and whatever, in my eyes, and I love the sport, I can relate to her. I think she's much more relatable, but will she be given the platform? Is my question. She's so lovely. She could talk to you for hours, just like I can, going on and on. She's a mum. She's a scouser, so she's just willing to talk to anyone and love anyone. Whereas I've been told that Nicola Adams is not as infectious and personality-wise as Natasha.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you. You've got that classic battle of someone's well-established inside the ring, but the other one's very, very loving outside of it. So we don't know what Natasha's like until she gets in there, but I do hope she can be marketed in the right way because she's, after our interview, she's a really lovely, relatable lady.
I think we've seen recently with the rise of Dave Allen, Operation White Rhino. Hopefully Dave can do the business this weekend, or hopefully he's done it last weekend, depending on when we put this video out. But I think
he's lovely, such an amazing guy.
He's a great guy.
Shout out to Dave, by the way.
Dave is
an amazing guy.
Great guy. But what I was going to say is, what we've seen from his rise and his prominence now amongst social media and the new fans that he's attracted quite a lot of casual fans, purely based on personality. Purely, obviously he's a good fighter. He's a very good fighter, and we hope he does the business in the Commonwealth and he goes on and does more. But he's attracted all that new fan base purely based on his personality, and I think it'll be interesting to see because I'll level with you, and that's no disrespect to Nicola or to Katy. When I watch their interviews, I don't really feel an attachment to either of them as people.
I totally agree with you on that front. Marketable, there's so much there. You can promote them till the cows come home. I understand, but as a woman, I've watched both of their interviews. I mean, for me, Katy Taylor, she's paved the way for boxing. She's unreal inside the ring, but into post-fight or pre-fight interviews, I've just been a bit like, can I really see your passion? Can I really connect with you?
Yeah.
But obviously with Natasha, she's just like, you know what, I'm a mum that wants to make it. And I feel like if she promoted like that, like you said with Dave Allen, my dad always says boxers need way more than just fast hands and good talent, because it's not that makes you the money half of the time.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at someone like Joshua, yeah, he was an Olympian, but it's the fact that he comes across as that lovable, that I was on the council estate just like you and you can do it vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't, do you know what I mean? That kind of relatable vibe. I think that is like Dave Allen is. Dave Allen's like, listen, I'm a guy who loves his sport and I get in there and do what I love. I feel like that's much more marketable and relatable to the fans as a selling point than the likes of Nicola Adams, who's got the world titles. Yeah. But in the promoter's eyes, they're going to go straight for the amateur pedigree, straight away.
Yeah, that's true.
You've got the swings and roundabouts. So people see Nicola and Katy and go, can I relate to them? Turn the telly off. But there's someone like Natasha Jonas, she's not got a promoter at the moment, but she's training with Joe Gallagher. Now that's a good move because that can pull Gallagher fans in, or the Smith brother fans in, because they train alongside her.
Yeah.
So she's hopefully making the right steps. What trainer she's decided to go with, and just stay herself. I mean, I hope she does make it being herself because she's great. Yeah,
no, she is. She seems like a top class athlete and a really nice woman as well. Let's move on. I don't want to touch too much on like marketing and PR stuff because obviously we're going to bring on the sporting lady Natasha Chulun a bit later on. Let me talk to you about the current crop of professional women boxers, not just like professional women, do you know what I mean? Shout out all the professional women in the world though. What I want to talk to you about, I'm just going to throw out some names and I want you just to briefly give me an overview of what you think about them as fighters, and then we're going to find out who you think has the most potential to cross over into a mainstream audience. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
Got it. Let's go.
I'm going to hit you with Savannah Marshall.
This is crazy for me because Mayweather Promotions have got her, and she's going to be based in Vegas as well. Apparently, I heard today that she's going to be based in Vegas with the Money team. So she, promotional-wise, she's got it all.
Yeah.
She's got the US audience to look at. She's the second female fighter to sign with Floyd. Apparently, the middleweight Natasha Jonas is also in the stable, but obviously she's quite under the radar. But with Savannah, I feel like she underperformed at a couple of major events that fans would have seen her at. But obviously she's followed a trend, and she's obviously got the talent enough to go professional. I obviously met her in London. She didn't do what she wanted to do there. But I think look at the opportunity for her to go to Vegas and do that. But I personally think that she's one of the most marketable boxers out of the ones you're going to throw me.
Why?
She's heavier.
Yeah.
A little bit heavier.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a rude thing to say, but when you see the lighter ladies, you see them as quite. The older fans will go, "Oh look, like Savannah." When she gets in the ring, she's very tall, broad shoulders, great physique, and she's heavier than the likes of Natasha Jonas and Nicola Adams. So I feel like promotional-wise, the bigger they are, like with the heavyweights, she's a middleweight, so she's going to be quite a selling point as. Say bye-bye to the smaller ladies. We've got the middleweight here, like she can take on the world, and I feel like because she's underperformed and she's an unknown to a lot of people as well. People would have heard of Nicola Adams on the back pages of sport newspapers and stuff like that, but with Savannah, I feel like people are going to tune in just to see what she's like. Whereas amateurs like myself knew Katy Taylor before any big event, and I'm kind of like, did I really want to tune in for a day because I know exactly what she's going to bring to the table?
Yeah.
Whereas Savannah's a bit of she edges into the unknown and the curiosity of women's boxing, I think.
Was that you doing it briefly? Because that was remarkable.
I'm a woman, what do you expect? We don't do brief.
Fair enough. Listen, I think everything you've said spot on. Being that little bit heavier brings a little bit more potential for knockouts and excitement, which obviously the casual fan is drawn to, as we spoke about previously. Yeah, good points. I worry a little bit that because she's not as established here in the UK, moving over to the US to be based in Vegas or to be promoted by the Mayweather guys could kind of leave her a little bit in the unknown, out in the wilderness, because you're not hearing about her all the time, you're not seeing her pop up on Sky Sports all the time, you're not having Eddie Hearn, ram her down your throat in the nicest possible way. Is there a chance that she kind of fizzles out over there in terms of a UK fan base? She
could fizzle out for UK fan base for sure, like for 100%. That's I reckon that is going to happen. But you cannot ignore the fact that Floyd Mayweather signed her.
Yeah.
Whether you like the man or not, globally his name is known.
Yep.
More than even Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's huge in the UK, but if you put Floyd Mayweather in the middle of any country in the world, they're going to know who the man is.
Yeah.
So I feel like with that kind of world marketability, she's got the most of it.
Yep.
But UK based, I feel like us UK fans are funny because we love boxing. It's our favourite sport until someone tries to come over and take over. Or leave the country and try and succeed. Everyone's like, oh, you should have stayed in Britain. We're where boxing's at. So I feel like she's going to get a bit of a backlash from the hardcore fans being like, why have you left the country that made you what you are kind of vibe. And that is worrying for her. But she's taken that chance. She'll be based in Vegas. And, I mean, she's done her time. She's been in the GB set up for 6 years. So you can't deny her time and what she's done for the sport. And if Floyd comes calling, I don't think anyone in the world's going to say no. So good luck to her. Yeah,
good luck to her, definitely. It's an adventure for sure. Let's roll on to number 2. Let me throw you Leeds' very own Nicola Adams.
How brief have I got to be? I'm just going to carry on talking.
Just talk and I'll just interrupt you.
just shout stop as loud as you can when you shout. Nicola Adams, she's the one I said that was the most marketable in terms of what she's done. She's obviously a world title, double Olympic gold medalist. She was the one in London that had the stamps after her, the post box and all of that stuff after the London. So in the UK, I feel like she's the name that everybody knows.
Yeah.
She was the gold medalist. She was the poster girl. She was on the back of all of our newspapers. She's hailed as the best pound-for-pound female boxer in the world, apparently. I looked online today doing a bit of research.
Oh.
Because obviously you're world-class, Craig. I've got a level.
Not pound for pound, just too many pounds. That's me.
Just too many. God, same here, Jesus. But she's recently come out and said that all women should work together to build the sport. So I feel like she's a nice character. You know, you get like a bad character, like a bad character that you love to hate.
Yeah.
I feel like she's one of them. She's trying to come across as the character that she wants everyone to love her, and I feel that's a dangerous line to run as well.
Yeah.
I feel like we should all work together, and I'm an Olympian, and I will never say anything out of the blue, and that kind of media trained personality that it's the complete opposite to somebody like Tyson Fury.
But Joshua's got that. Joshua's exactly the same, though.
Yeah, but with Joshua, I feel like he comes from. He'll be real with you about his story. He's been involved in crime. He's come from nothing, and that kind of vibe people relate to. I don't see where people relate to Nicola Adams.
So
I'm
it's
talking from a personal point of view.
Yeah, so it's probably.
Where do you relate to her?
It's probably more about. I think when you look at Joshua, he is like that now, but you can see the story arc, can't you? You can see where it started and how
he. See where he's come from. Started from the bottom. Now we're here, kind of vibe. I hate saying that, but. He comes from the bottom, he's making his way up. He quite openly says, listen, I ain't perfect, but you get what you're given. I'm here, I'm doing my best, and you lot can do the same as me. He's that inspirational. That's where he targets audiences. Whether you hate his upbringing, you hate the way he boxes, he inspires grassroots boxing, whether you like it or not. So that's where he sells. Savannah sells in the middle. Where does Nicola Adams get that hook? I don't see where she sells herself. She's that very nice lady who is very talented, but rides the line of, I'm going to be quite honest with you, boredom.
Yeah.
She bores me a little bit.
Yeah.
And that sounds awful because even when she's talking in interviews, I find myself flicking through the video. And I'm just like, where are you going to... Not that I wanted to come out and be controversial, because obviously what she's proved in the amateur ranks, I watched her through the amateur ranks, and she's a phenomenal talent. Again, not taken away from that, but I don't see where she sells.
Does she sell... Does she appeal to an LGBT market in a way that none of the other ones do?
That's a great point. I didn't think of that. That's a great point. Yes, she will, but how many of them fans are going to buy tickets to a boxing event? True. Like, that's no stereotype, but
no, it's true.
All say, oh, you love her, she represents what we stand for, but how many of them will buy a Wembley Stadium ticket to watch her fight and nobody?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That sounds awful, but in business terms, no one's going to buy into that. I respect her for what she's done, for coming out and being with another female boxer. Good on you, girl. Great. You've achieved in the amateurs. You're doing what you're doing. But I don't find a place where I sit down and go, I'm actively going to watch Nicola Adams now because I relate to her on a female boxing and a personal level.
Yeah.
I can't see where she sells.
Okay. Fair enough. It kind of bores me a little bit as well. Doesn't really pack a lot of power. Beautiful boxer, but it doesn't really excite me too much.
Yeah, it's the classic GB setup. Like, not obviously that's well respected, amazing. She's the classic, but all the talent. She's got the movement, the head movement, the footwork, the jab, but she lacks knockout ability, and she lacks a little bit of personality, like you mentioned. And I feel like if you've got them two, you can kind of bypass the talent for now, and sell yourself on a personal level. So I think that's where she lacks. Yeah,
you'd rather be. I think one of the main things from this is you would rather be full of personality and full of a brand in yourself and having to work on a couple of little technical things instead of the other way around, wouldn't you? You'd rather have that.
At the end of the day, I hate saying it because I love boxing. It's my life, but boxing is a business. It's an entertainment sport. People want to watch you get in there. They want to watch knockouts. They want blood. They want everything inside the ring and more. It's like a circus to some people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, she doesn't give, like, Tyson Fury turning up in a Joker outfit and jumping over the ring like that, singing in the ring. He's an absolute nutter, but I guarantee you, hundreds of thousands of people will tune into his press conference on YouTube because he brings something you don't know what's going to come to the table. The person like Dave Allen, he's not an established amateur by any means. he's a talented boxer, but what sells him is his relatability. He suffered with mental health. He's a normal guy doing what he loves. And you know what? He did get beat by two Ortiz and, help me,
Dillian White.
Thank you. He did get beat by them, but everyone's like, you know, it doesn't really matter. He's a guy fulfilling his dreams. And I feel like that's, like you said, you hit the nail on the head, where personality oversells the talent there.
Yeah.
You'd rather watch someone get in there, like even like Joshua. Let's take the biggest fight this year that's happened. Yeah, he went in too early with his hands a bit low. He stayed a bit tight. He got caught in the 6th round. But you know, people like that. People like that little bit of dip in talent to provide entertainment. And unfortunately, it's an entertainment business, and Nicola provides everything you want inside the ring that, I'm going to say it, like Luke Campbell, can become very boring.
Yeah.
It becomes very GB. It becomes very, as Richie Woodward would say, the jab's perfect. Everything's great. It's all working in favour of her. But is it keeping people with their TV sets on? I don't think it is.
Yeah, that's a good shout, the Luke Campbell comparison, actually. Right, let's move on.
Keep it brief, please, Craig.
I know, and then I start talking and we end up fucking a mile off track. Right. That wasn't my laugh. That was like a really high-pitched animal that was sitting next to me there.
That fake laugh trying to make me happy. Shut up now, Brooke.
Right, let's move on. Next one. Katy Taylor.
Talent absolutely speaks for itself. She's unreal. I mean, and even men that I spoke to, again, I'm around a lot of men and a lot of shows and a lot of around the UK, and everyone says what she holds you cannot teach. She's had it from a young age. She showed it all the way through her career. She's got exciting talent, in my opinion. She's got the most talent out of everyone you're going to mention.
Yeah.
She's obviously paved the way for women's boxing. She was obviously the first woman to turn over and in the UK and stuff like that. So she's obviously got the respect for that reason. And she's been put on massive bills. She's obviously gaining more and more respect. She's the one I think with the most respect, shall we say.
Yeah.
She's the most decorated amateur. Obviously, she won world titles and she was... everyone knows her name. And I've gone off track. Look, I'm talking so much I'm confusing myself. Eddie Hearn, she's like the gate. She's like the one at the top for me. She's the one to beat. Because everyone's like, oh, yeah, women's boxing, Katy Taylor. Straight away, her name comes into everyone's head. And obviously she's one of the biggest promoters in the UK, arguably in the world at the moment, Eddie Hearn. So I think that she's the one that's gaining the most respect, where she's been on the undercard of the Joshua fight and stuff like that. So I think like she failed to let anyone hold her back, and I think that should be respected as such. But I do hope that she doesn't just slide down and become a has-been. Because as you said, her debut was very... Look, we've got Katy Taylor. She's won 5 world titles as an amateur. You've all got to watch. And then 100 mad Irish fans turned up, and they're great. But then at the Wembley Stadium, how many turned up to see her because it was Katy Taylor? Not a lot. They might have been there early to watch the events. But unfortunately, there wasn't much atmosphere when she walked out at Wembley. And that, to me, shows a slope in her popularity, that everyone's riding this whole wave of, we've got to get onto this because Eddie Hearn's pushing it down our throat. Yeah. To, am I actually going to stay and sit and actively go out of my... Because I always feel like boxing is one of the things that, are you going to go out of your way to sit and watch this person show me their talent? Yeah. And that's the business side of things. Like, there's some boxers you absolutely love and you always watch them, whether they're fighting journeyman, whether they're fighting their shadow boxing, you're going to watch them. Yeah. She's one of them people that I feel like you've got to be forced to watch despite her unreal talent.
Yeah, that's a good point. You almost feel like you're owed something by watching her. You almost feel like, I'm going to watch this, something amazing's going to happen, and the whole way through it, your expectation of when is this amazing thing going to happen kind of just disappoints you a little bit. I could not put it better myself. Eddie Hearn tells me I've got to watch this fight. I know she's a decorated Olympian and amateur boxer. I have to watch this fight. Of course I do. I'm a boxing journalist. I'm a boxing fan. I have to watch it. And every round I'm kind of like, funny enough, saying to my dad, no, next round, like something, next round. And then it never fully comes. And whether that's because I'm expecting fireworks, I probably am, because I've seen her as an amateur and she's got it. But I always expect, and I'm like, I always finish the fight. And when I finish a fight, I want to be over the moon. I want to be screaming. I want to be either crying, laughing, clapping. I want to be some sort of emotion. But when the final bell goes, I feel like it's a bit like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, like, it's never that. It never gives me that emotion. Hopefully,
she can step up and maybe one day, imagine if there was a world title on the line with her and Jonas.
Yeah.
Now I would be at that fight because I know what it provided in the amateurs. But as of right now, you hit the nail right on the head when you say, I expect something and it never comes.
I think you can... I said this on Twitter before, like, I've watched every Katy Taylor professional fight, and I feel as though I could have just watched one, and it would have been
so true.
She dominates every fight. Right. She dominates every fight. She looks beautiful in every fight technically, and she wins comfortably, and that's it. That's it for me.
It's honestly, I can't put it better myself. You don't see. Obviously, it comes down to the opponent, I believe, as well, because obviously there's not a lot of people in her division at the moment, because female boxing is obviously on the rise at the moment.
Yeah.
But I feel like you don't. With a male fighter, for example, not saying it's 100% better, but in each fight you can say, right, he moved his head more in that fight, or something different changes. With Katy Taylor, I feel like it's like painting along. It's just like she's one level of talent and she'll stay there. Hopefully I'm wrong. I hope she proves me wrong. But I feel like you said, there's one level and she'll stay there, and after you've watched it you think, I could have just watched her last fight on repeat.
Yeah. That's the kind of vibe I get. Right, I've asked you about...
It just sounds like I'm actually slagging off everything.
No, it's not about that. It's not about that. I think everybody... We've mentioned 75% of the chat's been about what they do well and how they deserve respect, but we can't... The purpose of having these sort of conversations is you can't ignore the obvious, and the obvious is that we need to keep building it, and we need to probably give it more prominent slots on bills. We need to start making sure it gets the advert. Like, for me, there's no advertising. Why are we boosting, like, people who are coming up from the Olympics and stuff? We're giving them adverts. We're putting their posters in windows. We're doing this. Remember Anthony Agogo was fucking eating Subway sandwiches for about a year? Remember?
No, do you know what? That is very, very... People need to buy into it more. That's a very good point. Like, you don't see Katy Taylor on an advert or like a Maxi Muscle advert or something, for example. If you saw if she was more wider known, that she was on bus stops. Like, this is what I'm talking about with the London 2012 craze. You've gone back in a great circle. But it's that in 2012, I went to the bus stop, I went to the Excel Centre to go to do my job at the boxing arena, and their posters would be, all the girls from the GB team would be like, support GB, and had their faces and their names, and it was very, very pushed. It was very, very pushed down our throat in such a good way that it marketed so well.
Yeah.
But now, as you said, you don't see him. You see Joshua on a Lucozade advert, a Beats by Dre advert. You see him on every kind of advert, and you think, even the casuals would be like, who don't know anything about boxing, would be like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And will naturally look into him. But I don't think the women have that pulling power at the moment.
I think they definitely need to be doing some sort of stuff. But again, the marketing side of things, we could talk about for days. Right, I want you to give me a couple of potential stars. I know you've got a couple you wanted to talk about who you think. Well, I think one of them's a pro who's fighting this weekend, I believe. Out of the McGuigan gym, and the other one is an amateur who you think's got a lot of potential. So give me the pro first. Out of the McGuigan gym, fighting this weekend, making a professional debut, am I right?
Yes, Chantel Cameron. Very, very talented lady. She I'll say quickly, it will probably be about 10 minutes. She started kickboxing at the age of 10. She was British and Five Nations champion by 16. She's won gold in European and World Championships.
Wow.
She lost qualification because basically the weight categories changed in qualification for London 2012.
Okay.
So she had to fight at a different weight to what she was used to, and she just missed out on qualification. She's the same division as Katy Taylor and Natasha Jonas, which makes that division a little bit more exciting, in my opinion.
Yep.
I just think she's very under the radar, but she's very unpredictable. She's done other sports. She's a bit fiery. I think that she potentially sells that division, in my opinion. That's a big statement to make. But she sells it. I've seen her box, spoken to her on numerous occasions for interviews, and she just loves what she does. Again, she says, I'm not perfect, I've done other sports, I've run around, I've done this, I've done that. It's come from nothing, and she wants to make something of herself, and I appreciate her for it. But yeah, I promise you, tune into her. She's a very good talent, and I think within the Wigan gym, they're really invested in their female talent, and they'll take her far. I
think she looks like I've only seen a couple of pictures, I've never seen her fight or spar like you have, but her upper body looks very strong, and I can imagine she hits quite hard in comparison to some of these other girls.
Yeah, seeing her on the pads, I mean, I know you can't take pad work for granted, but she in the amateurs she had a lot of devastating hits because she's got a lot of power behind her punches. So I think in that division where you've got the Katy Taylor and Jonas that you might watch and, like you said, go, what's it giving me? Yeah. I feel like she is the person to give you the, oh, okay, I'm going to watch this vibe. So I do think everyone should, tune in and watch her. Lovely girl, very talented, done her time in the amateurs. She's not just, people are going to think she's just come out of the blue, but she's been around for years. I mean, since the age of 10. I don't know exactly how old she is now, but I know she's over the age of 23. She's been in the sport over 13 years, and she's done her time, and I believe she's got enough experience and that to actually, she might, I'm going to put it out there, if her and Katy Taylor in a couple of years' time, I'm going Cameron.
Wow.
I think she's very, very talented.
Shit, man, that's a bold statement.
It's a big statement, but I do believe in the amateur pedigree. I do believe that she's got the personality, the look. She's got absolutely everything that is a marketer's dream, but she's also got that unpredictability inside the ring, which I don't think Katy Taylor's got.
Yeah. You've kind of
I'll put it out there.
You've kind of played it safe. You've left it until about 40 minutes in to drop that bombshell. Now you know nobody fucking likes me enough to listen to 40 minutes of me talking, so you'll be safe.
They like me enough though. Don't worry.
That's true. Actually, you might sell this video. Right, the other one that I was talking about, amateur, not yet turned over, but you wanted to touch on Shannon Courtney, I believe.
Yeah, just quickly, Shannon Courtney recently interviewed her. Great story. She's just amateur boxer, loves what she does, was very overweight, very smoking, drinking. She won't mind me saying this, we've interviewed together. She's smoking, drinking, very overweight, and was like, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go down to a gym. Went down to a gym, lost loads of weight. Every coach in the amateur division told her how special she was, and now she's taken it seriously. She trains at Punch London alongside Frank Buglioni. She's with Islington Boxing Club, a great amateur set up there, and she trains alongside men, and every man she trains alongside tells me how much of a beast she is inside the ring. Seen her box. She's won the Southern Area belt as an amateur. For me, she's a chef as well. Great little fact there for you. She's a chef. She's just a great girl. Normal, everyday girl that's made it good, and I think she's one to watch for the future for sure.
What can you tell us about the plans for turning over? Is that on her radar, or...?
Actually, speaking to her at the moment, she was saying how she's had a couple of fights lined up in the amateurs. Obviously, where there's no payment, there's no contract or nothing. People are pulling out left, right, and centre, and obviously, female boxing is not half as popular as the male side of the sport. So she's had 4 pull-outs in the last 5 weeks or something like that. Don't quote me on it, but loads of women have pulled out on her to fight. Yeah. So I think that's starting to get. That's the natural side of the amateurs that starts to grind on people's nerves. But I believe she still holds the Southern Area belt, so in the amateurs, which is quite a big thing in the that people look at in the amateur pedigree.
Okay.
So she could defend it. I'm not sure. I haven't spoken to her about wanting to turn professional. I assume she does. She said to me she'd like to show people what she's made of. So I do hope one day she turns over. It might be now that everyone else is signing, she might see there is a market there and go for it, which maybe ride the crest of a wave, as we've been saying.
Yeah.
But for the moment, she's enjoying what she's doing at the Islington Boxing Club, and I believe she's going into the Haringey Box Cup.
Okay.
She's at Alexandra Palace on June the 16th weekend.
Okay.
And anyone who likes amateur boxing, I don't work for them, but I've been going to that event since I was about 5 years old with my boxers and my dad's boxers. One of the greatest amateur events you'll go to, beautiful surroundings, and you see so much talent. It's where I first saw Joshua. It's where I first saw a lot of young talent that then goes on to become world champions. So if you can make it down there, please get down there and have a look. Yeah,
very well respected amateur tournament, the Haringey Box Cup. Shout out Shannon Courtney. Also shout out Rosanna Cox, New Zealander over here. Looks in fantastic shape, and I know she has some trouble getting fights and people pulling out, and I think she's turned up to amateur tournaments before, and she's just been told, there's nobody in your weight division, there's a gold medal, see you later, and
yeah, exactly the same as Shannon. She's turned up and they go, actually nobody weighs in at your weight today, you can go home.
Yep.
And it's a bit like, I've been training so, like the likes of Rosanna and Shannon, they train so hard for what they do that when they turn up and be told no, it's such a kick in the teeth for them, which is why probably Shannon will turn over very soon, I hope.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Rosanna's planning on turning over as well. I'm sure we can find that out. She's always popping about on social media, sponsored by a couple of people who we obviously kind of bump into. I know she's sponsored by the Pep Talk guys, and she does a lot of stuff with them. So
can I butt in and say one thing? I'm running the podcast now, clearly.
Is it? I mean, is it boxing related, or are you just going to start talking about social affairs?
No, I'll leave that for when we put the phone down. But just overseas, in regards to overseas boxing, one name that's starting to pop up quite a lot now is Clarissa Shields from the USA.
Yep.
I'm not sure if you've heard. Yeah, she's a two-time world title. She was known to represent in the USA in the London 2012 again, because that's where I first saw her. But she was on the undercard of the Ward Kovalev fight, and no one knew about it. This is my point. Such a huge fight. Big, I mean, in the USA, massive. She's won 2 world titles. Everyone knows her name. Bit of a bigger girl than the lightweights as well. And nobody knew nothing about it. Wasn't put on the TV, wasn't put on anything. But she's very, very fiery. She's obviously recently supported Andre Darrell, I believe, after what his uncle did, which I'm not going to go into.
Yeah.
But she has backlashed James DeGale on Twitter about it. She's a very, very fiery character. And I'm going to put it out there and say I think that Savannah Marshall is in the same weight division as she is. So that could be, they're both quite fiery, both big punchers. So I just wanted to mention her name for anyone that doesn't know about the USA team. She's one to watch. Yes,
Clarissa Shields is probably the biggest breakout female star in the USA, I would imagine. Don't really hear as many names as hers. And while we're on boxers overseas, somewhere that's really got it going on in terms of female professionals, Scandinavia, man, they bloody love it over there.
Oh, I mean, I don't know that. I'm going to be honest.
Cecilia Breckhouse is a multiple world champion, trained by Jonathan Banks, and they throw on some crazy events when she's fighting.
Oh wow! I mean, I don't know about that.
Yep. So I would
talk about you saying that name in your Scottish accent, though. Phenomenal.
Cecilia Breckhouse. She's probably called fucking Shauna Smith or something. I've just pronounced it funny.
I mean, the accent the podcast has got today is phenomenal anyway. From Cockney to Glasgow, right?
Exactly, we're covering all bases.
All going on.
The North and South combine.
Working together.
Exactly. Listen, Brooke, absolute pleasure. It's been a long time coming doing these sorts of things with you, so it's been good to have you on. I really appreciate your time. Female boxing, are we going to make it? Are we going to get to where we need to be?
Oh, I hope so. Females in other sports like tennis and football, they're all taken seriously by males, and in the sport, the industries that they're in now. I obviously work a lot in the amateur gyms with my dad, and I see so much talent like Shannon Courtney and young women that have got that passion, that desire, that talent, and the personality to go with it. So I just hope that it does carry on with this wave and it does get bigger. I want to go to a show that headlines a woman. I want to be the first female journalist to report on a female world title pro fight. Yeah. I want that to happen, but at the moment, I believe it's got a long, long way to go to get to the levels that the male division has.
If we don't promote it right, and if it's not handled correctly by the guys who do the media and the PR, then the women who are fighting in these fights do not get the exposure they deserve. And when they don't get the exposure they deserve, the youngsters and the young girls in schools, the young girls in gyms, the young girls who are a bit overweight, like Shannon Courtney's and people like that, who are looking to get fit and healthy and start a sport and develop a passion and a fire for something that they can take through their teenage years, turn professional and make money from, they don't see it on TV. They don't hear about it. They don't turn it into a career, and that's where it comes to an end. And I think
this is like, just quickly, I'm going to go on. After the London 2012 Olympics, my dad's amateur gym was absolutely buzzing. As it was after the Joshua fight, I've got to be honest. The local boys come down wanting to start boxing. But after 2012, my dad really noticed, and I did being there, that the women were coming in and being like, we can do this, you know?
Yeah.
That vibe, like, we want to be noticed like the men. Who says it's just the men that can get the headline?
Yeah.
Because of the promotion and that the GB squad got at the time, and Jonas and Adams obviously helped that along the way. But after 2012, my dad's gym was buzzing with young girls being like, we could be like this person. I just hope that carries on, because from grassroots level, boxing is so important in community and people's personal lives. And I just hope that Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and a lot of them just see how important female boxing and the inspiration that these young ladies hold for the younger generation.
Yeah, we have to feed it. We have to feed them, and we have to get the inspiration for the younger generations as well, so we can actually make it sustainable. If you don't make it sustainable and if you don't fill up, I think one of the problems we spoke about on one of our Fight Talk podcasts was the weight divisions are so thin. They're so
thin. This is the point. There's nobody to fight anybody at the moment. I mean, if you're going to get a lightweight to fight a male, there's 150 in a queue waiting to be weighed in.
Yeah.
Whereas with the females, there's maybe one at a push, two, but only one of them can fight.
Yeah.
One of them won. So, like you said, I have a massive affiliation with your channel that you support grassroots boxing up. I've supported amateur boxing since I could talk, and for me, that is where our future superstars lie. Yeah. I watched Joshua in his first fight, and I was there at his last fight as a pro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've been there all the way through. Amateur boxing is something that paves the way for superstars of the future, and if we don't instill that inspiration into the youngsters now, the likes of our future generation are going to forget the way that Katy Taylor's paved the way for them if they're not inspired at a grassroots level.
Yeah.
So I just hope that they keep that inspiration, and people like Ads and obviously a lot of amateur gyms up and down the country continue to put their efforts into young boxers like they are, because obviously in the future people like Shannon Courtney can inspire a generation.
You're right, you're spot on. Listen, let's leave it there. This has been Craig Scott, fighttalk.net, boxing from the ground up, always authentic, always genuine, that's how we do it. Brooke Streatfield, renowned boxing journalist, thank you for joining me. Brooke's been covering all sorts of boxing since she could talk. You don't talk much, Brooke, do you?
I'm a little bit of a wallflower. I don't really talk much. No, it takes a lot to get this out.
Listen, if you're still with us, it's been a pleasure. Listen, I've had a lot of fun talking about this with you, pal. Thank you. We need to do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
And thanks very much for coming on. No, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much. Women's boxing. Let us know your thoughts. We are going in the right direction. Thank you. Have a good night.